Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you as always by Lay of the Land and hosted by me, Rolene Marks, in Modi'in, another scorcher of a day here. And as always, you join us every Monday to Thursday as we take a look at those top stories making headlines. So let's discuss what is dominating the news in Israel today. And we start with a shared frustration that many of you have. Very often we look at coverage of Israel and her neighbors, especially when we have flare-ups like we had on the weekend with Operation Breaking Dawn. And we all get frustrated at the bias and the one-sidedness we see of the conflict. However, very interestingly today, the Associated Press, remember those guys, they shared an office with Hamas and Al Jazeera that was bombed last year during Operation Guardians of the Wall, because it was reported that Hamas were conducting R&D in those offices there. Well, the AP yesterday released a report that at least a third of civilians killed during Breaking Dawn were as a result of misfired rockets. And today they released their report that the Foreign Press Association, which all of us who are journalists and report here in Israel are a part of, that and the government press office, there was a warning by Hamas, which has been rescinded, how exactly journalists should cover the conflict in Gaza. Now, I can't go into Gaza. I have an Israeli passport, but if you are another member of the foreign press, you can enter on your foreign passport. So here's some of the parameters that Hamas wanted. They wanted no reporting at all of any rockets misfiring or any civilians being harmed or killed as a result of that. You have to blame Israel for the escalation. You are not allowed to work in the Gaza Strip unless you have been sponsored by a local sponsor, who invariably happens to be a Palestinian journalist or translator employed by the Government Media Association. And after consulting with government officials in Gaza, the FPA said that Hamas had rescinded. But, this is not the first time that we have heard that. If we go back to Operation Protective Edge in 2014, there were numerous reports after the fact. I recall an Italian journalist saying that the Hamas terrorists would fire from within the area where press were reporting, and they were almost killed, and they were not allowed to report on that. Very often Hamas would either intimidate the journalists, take the tape from their cameras, or even threaten them with worse. So this just goes to show. However, what we do about a biased news channel is another thing, and this is where we all can play a vital role. Not only can you play a role by sharing the information shared every day on the Israel Brief, but challenge your local news provider. If they are not bringing you news that is fair and balanced, either contact organizations like Honest Reporting or the Press Ombudsman in your country, or write a strongly worded but firm and business-like riposte to the news channel. Yesterday, we brought you the news that President Herzog had spoken to his counterpart, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and that they had discussed the Jewish Agency for Israel situation. We have been covering that in depth here on the Israel Brief, and today the Jerusalem Post are reporting an exclusive that it is likely to be decided that the Jewish Agency will end its physical presence in Russia. Now, this hasn't been officially announced. This is an exclusive reported by the Jerusalem Post. It hasn't featured anywhere else, and that any Russian Jews wishing to make aliyah or immigrate to Israel will be able to do so either by phone or by filling out their forms online. Now, this is very, very significant, because not only does it leave Russian Jews with a sense of being stranded in the country, but the exodus or exit of a major Jewish or Israeli organization from Russia is extremely, extremely unnerving. Meanwhile, earlier today, Russia's embassy in Egypt accused Israel of double standards. Now, the reason for this, they say, is that when Prime Minister Lapid was foreign minister just a couple of months ago, when the war broke out with Ukraine, Israel had allegedly accused Russia of committing atrocities and human rights violations. Now, the embassy in Egypt said that Israel is enacting a double standard with their disregard and contempt for Palestinian life. Now, during Operation Breaking Dawn, Russia was one of the only countries that released a statement condemning Israel for our response to the now 1,100 rockets that were fired in just 66 hours at Israel's civilian population. And in some better news, the organization Save a Child's Heart has just seen a delegation return from the African country of Chad. Now, diplomatic relations between Israel and Chad only normalized recently after a freeze of 50 years, bringing with them the delegation with the help of Israel Flying Aid brought 3 children from Chad who will now receive life-saving surgery right here at their hospital in Holon. If you don't know who Save a Child's Heart is, they are really, really extraordinary, and just take a few minutes to Google who they are. They do exceptional work providing life-saving heart surgery to children who may not have access to it from countries around the world, including countries we have no diplomatic relations with. What a mitzvah. This is Tikkun Olam at its best. And we end, as we always like to do, with some good news. And we know Israelis are obsessed with Eurovision, and it has been confirmed today that Israeli pop star Noa Kirel has accepted the offer put forward to represent Israel at next year's Eurovision competition in the United Kingdom. Now, it was won this year by Ukraine. However, due to the current situation in Ukraine, the United Kingdom, that was the runner-up, will host the competition. She said that she is looking forward to embarking on a journey that would bring honor to all Israelis. And of course, Israel has won before. We had the wonderful Netta, we had Dana International, we've had some really, really iconic songs, Hallelujah, and various others that took the world by storm at Eurovision. So next year, be prepared to get your cheesy music fest on and watch Noa Kirel represent Israel at Eurovision. And that's it from me for today, but don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. You can also check out our Facebook community. You guys know what to do. Like us, follow us. You'll find us at Lottel site. Share our content. It's all higgledy-piggledy now because of the Facebook changing the parameters. So if you like us and follow us, we will really, really appreciate it. And we'll appreciate it as well if you follow us on our YouTube channel. The channel is The Israel Brief. All you have to do is click on that red button to subscribe, and let's get that news from Israel out to as many people as possible. And we tweet every day. You can find us on Twitter at layoftheland5. Follow us there. And don't forget to follow me again tomorrow as I bring you a wrap-up of the news stories of the week. And with that, I'm Rolene Marks. Thank you for watching the Israel Brief, and we'll meet again tomorrow for your top stories.